The Great Summer Exploration. In the village of Maplewood, nestled between rolling hills and fields of tall grass, lived a young girl named Emma and her cousin Ben. They were the best of friends and spent every summer together, exploring and enjoying the simple joys that nature had to offer. One bright morning, with the sun shining high in the sky, Emma and Ben decided to head out for a day of adventure. "Today, let's go beyond the fields to the old willow grove," Ben suggested, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Emma nodded eagerly. "I've always wanted to see what lies beyond the grove. Maybe there are some interesting animals or even a hidden pond." With sandwiches packed in their bags, along with a bottle of lemonade and some apples, the two set off down the path that led beyond the village. The path was lined with blooming wildflowers, and the air was filled with the hum of bees. Emma and Ben walked side by side, chatting about what they might discover. Soon they reached the willow grove, where the long branches swayed gently in the breeze like green curtains. The children ducked under the branches and made their way through the grove, their feet crunching softly on the fallen leaves. On the other side, they found themselves in a part of the countryside they had never seen before, a meadow filled with flowers of every color, and in the distance, a hill with a lone oak tree standing tall at its peak. "Let's go up there!" Ben pointed to the oak tree. "I bet we'll be able to see the whole village from the top." Emma agreed, and they began to make their way through the meadow. They laughed as they waded through the sea of flowers, butterflies flitting around them. Ben even tried to catch one, but the butterfly was too quick, and it danced out of his reach. When they reached the base of the hill, they paused to catch their breath. It was steeper than it had looked from a distance, but that only made it more exciting. "Race you to the top!" Emma shouted, and she took off, her laughter ringing out behind her. Ben was quick to follow, and soon they were both scrambling up the hill, their hands pulling at the tall grass for support. When they finally reached the top, they collapsed under the shade of the oak tree, breathing hard but smiling wide. Emma sat up and looked around, her eyes widening at the sight. From the hilltop, they could see the entire village of Maplewood, the houses with their red roofs, the fields, and even the winding river that ran along the edge of the village. Beyond that were more hills and valleys, stretching as far as they could see. "It's beautiful," Emma said softly, her voice filled with awe. Ben nodded, gazing out at the view. "It really is. I never knew we could see so much from here." They sat in silence for a while, just taking in the beauty of their surroundings. The breeze rustled the leaves of the oak tree, and birds sang in the branches above. After a while, Ben reached into his bag and pulled out their sandwiches. "Let's have lunch here," he said. Emma smiled, and they spread out a small blanket that Emma had brought along. They sat side by side, enjoying their sandwiches and sipping on the cool lemonade. As they ate, they talked about their favorite adventures from past summers, like the time they had found a family of ducks by the river, or the time they had built a fort out of fallen branches. After lunch, Emma lay back on the blanket, looking up at the sky. "Do you think there's anything on the other side of this hill?" she asked, her voice dreamy. Ben sat up, peering down the far side of the hill. "Only one way to find out," he said with a grin. They packed up their things and started down the other side of the hill. The grass was even taller here, almost reaching their waists, and it felt like they were walking through a golden sea. As they made their way down, they heard a faint sound, a soft tinkling, like water flowing over stones. Do you hear that? Emma asked, her eyes lighting up. Ben nodded. It sounds like a stream. Let's go find it. They followed the sound until they reached a small, clear stream that wound its way through the meadow. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and small fish darted between the rocks. Emma knelt by the edge of the stream, dipping her fingers into the cool water. It's perfect, she said, smiling up at Ben. Ben found a flat stone and skipped it across the water, watching as it bounced 3 times before sinking. I wonder where this stream goes, he mused. Emma stood up, brushing her hands on her shorts. Maybe it leads to a pond or even a waterfall. We should follow it. And so they walked alongside the stream, their bare feet splashing in the shallow water. They followed its winding path through the meadow, sometimes stopping to watch a dragonfly hover above the surface or to pick wildflowers growing along the bank. The stream led them to a small pond, its surface covered in lily pads. Frogs leaped into the water as they approached, their splashes echoing in the quiet afternoon. Ben found a long stick and used it to gently push one of the lily pads, revealing a tiny frog that had been hiding beneath it. Emma giggled. Look at him! He's so small! They spent the rest of the afternoon by the pond, making up stories about the frogs and the fish, and imagining what it would be like to live in a place as peaceful as this. As the sun began to lower in the sky, they knew it was time to head back home. Reluctantly, they left the pond and made their way back up the hill, stopping once more at the oak tree to take in the view. The village below was bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, and the sight filled them both with a sense of contentment. Today was amazing, Emma said, her voice soft. Ben smiled. Yeah, it really was, and there's still so much more to explore. Emma nodded. Next time we'll follow the stream even further. Who knows what we'll find? They walked back to Maplewood as the sky turned shades of pink and orange, their hearts full of the day's adventure and the promise of more to come. And as they each went home that evening, they knew that the world around them was full of wonders, waiting to be discovered, one adventure at a time.